5 News at Noon starts now.
President Trump is holding trade discussions as he hosts the president of the Philippines. More on those talks as we're just over a week until the president's trade deal deadline. And a former Kentucky officer has been sentenced in connection with Breonna Taylor's death. The family shares their thoughts ahead. Well, thanks for joining us for your 5 News at Noon. I'm Morgan Wrigley here with meteorologist Danny Cassidy. Happy Tuesday. I think the wave we've been doing throwing us off a little bit.
Why is that?
Because we love it too much. I think we're just getting in the swing of it.
Well, we'll certainly get more synced up, I think, as we go. Well, we'll get it in sync, don't worry.
We will. And we're in the middle, not quite the middle, but the beginning still of a very hot week. And
yes,
it doesn't seem like there's any relief in sight.
No relief of any of that slowing down. We are in the hottest time of the year, so it's to be expected, but still not necessarily welcome nonetheless. We'll show you a live look outside. We'll show you what one of the areas is looking like over in Rogers. 90 degrees there flat. Feels like 98 with that dew point of 73, but Rogers is one of the cooler areas, if you want to believe that, because much of the area is feeling close to the triple digits there. You can see 99 in Bentonville, 100 in Fayetteville, already at 105 in Ozark, 104 in Boonville, 103 in Sallisaw, 103 in Fort Smith. So yeah, basically triple digits nearly everywhere. So if you're in Huntsville or Rogers, hey, you're on the cooler side of things, if they want to call it that. That feels like we'll hover around the triple digits because I think as we go through the afternoon, the humidity will drop a little bit, and as the temperature rise, they'll kind of cancel each other out. But we could approach 105 and staying on the warm side as we head through the later this afternoon. For the River Valley, many areas again already at 104, 105, approaching 110. And we'll stay in the triple digits well through the afternoon and evening, maybe getting it up to 110. So officially, we're under extreme heat warning for our eastern half of the River Valley, heat advisory for the rest. And even though these middle 3 counties here aren't in it, it still could feel like up to 105 in Washington, Madison, as well as Adair County. So again, even though technicalities aren't there, it's still going to feel hot. And as Morgan mentioned, it's not going away anytime soon. So we'll talk about that, as well as how long the humidity will last. So we can maybe see our first 100-degree day coming up in your full forecast. Morgan.
Thanks, Danny. A man pleads guilty in the 2021 death case of a Fort Smith woman. Alex Davis is appearing in court today in Podo, where he's pleaded guilty in connection to the death of 40-year-old Tara Strozier. Reporter Bo Russell was in the courtroom and says Davis will face a life sentence with no possibility of parole. Strozier went missing in July of 2021. Her body was later found in a pond near Rock Island. We'll have much more coming up on your 5 News First at 4. And we're working to learn new details on a police chase that ended in Fayetteville. Fayetteville police joined Elkins and Arkansas State Police in a pursuit of a vehicle. It ended on College Avenue, and police say a pit maneuver was performed. Officials confirmed the suspect was arrested, and police say there are no injuries that they are aware of. We're working to learn more on this, and you can follow any updates on our website, 5newsonline.com. Well, national news, President Trump is hosting the president of the Philippines, with trade and China expected to be focuses of their talks. It comes as the push to release more files in the Jeffrey Epstein case continues to be a focus on Capitol Hill. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
With just over a week until President Trump's trade deal deadline, he's hosting Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos at the White House Tuesday with tariffs top of mind.
The trade team and the president himself continue to be very engaged with countries around the world when it comes to our trade agreements.
Earlier this month, the president threatened to impose a 20% levy on Filipino goods. Marcos's office says he wants to send a message that the Philippines is ready to negotiate.
We look forward to the coming discussions between our 2 governments and the results that I am certain that we will find at the end of those discussions.
President Marcos met Monday with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to talk about their security alliance with China and stability in the Indo-Pacific in focus.
Together, we must forge a strong shield of real deterrence for peace.
The Trump administration also continues to face fallout over its handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files and the continued push to release more information.
People have wanted these files for years, and then the president's staff, administration, his own children, his vice president have promised that these files would come out, and now we're being told it's a hoax. It doesn't wash.
This morning, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he's reached out to the counsel of Epstein associate and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell to determine whether she would be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department, adding if Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
New developments in a high-profile case. A federal judge sentences former Louisville, Kentucky police officer Brett Hankinson to nearly 3 years in prison for violating the civil rights of Breonna Taylor. Officers shot and killed Taylor, who was unarmed, during a botched drug raid in March of 2020. Hankinson fired 10 rounds blindly into her apartment, though none of them hit Taylor. Taylor's boyfriend did fire shots, saying that he thought police were intruders. A different officer fired back, hitting and killing Taylor. The Justice Department recommended that the judge give Hankinson a sentence of 1 day since he didn't fire the shot that killed her. The judge dismissed the 1-day sentence, and Taylor's family attorney says they're grateful the officer is being held accountable.
We are grateful that he is at least going to prison and have to think for those 3 years about Breonna Taylor and that her life mattered.
We were here today for a just sentence. And while 33 months in prison is not enough, it's more than they were asking for.
The officers were executing a no-knock warrant, something Louisville police have since banned. Taylor's killing led to nationwide protests in 2020 over police violence and racial injustice. Well, the Fort Smith School District, like many others, finds itself waiting to see how much federal funding it will lose starting this school year. On Monday, the Fort Smith School Board was updated on the amount the district could lose from cuts in federal funds. Caroline Neal, the director of federal program and strategic initiatives, says the $1.5 million the district could lose would have a dramatic effect on several programs.
It means in the long term we will have to take a look at our programs and what we're doing with these funds, and that will impact staff, academic opportunities to address our diverse student needs like our English language learner students, professional development, teacher recruitment and retention, materials and supplies, and technology.
The board did approve an increase in the price of school lunches. Starting this school year, the price would go up by 25 cents for all grade levels. Texas lawmakers met for the first time since the floods in the central part of the state earlier this month. And even though many of the special sessions agenda items are related to the flooding, lawmakers there say that won't be discussed until Wednesday. That's when the legislature will have their first public hearing. Texas leaders created special committees in the House and Senate to tackle the flooding issues. And they say they'll even make a trip to Kerr County next week. State Senator Jose Menendez says that's when they'll be able to figure out what worked and what didn't. Meanwhile, Kerr County Commissioners held a special session to give new updates on flood recovery. Officials say 107 people lost their lives in the floods, but over the weekend, the number of missing people fell to only 3. It was as high as 161 in the days after the flood. But County Judge Rob Kelly provided further clarification and said that the drop was due to many tourists not informing officials that they were okay.
We're finishing up with the search and rescue. We're down to 3 missing. And that was the Herculean effort for them to be able to track all those people down. And most of them were tourists that came in town that left and went back home and didn't report back in that they were there. That's what a lot of that was.
One nonprofit in San Antonio is calling for more transparency into those numbers and says they'll continue to search for missing people, whether the number stands at 3 or 100. An investigation is underway into the apparent close call in the skies over North Dakota involving a Delta flight with 80 people on board and an Air Force bomber with a crew of 5. New video appears to show the passenger jet changing direction to avoid the B-52 bomber. Chris Van Cleve has the latest.
As this Air Force B-52 bomber was streaking low over the city of Minot.
Welcome, the B-52.
On its way to a flyover at the North Dakota State Fair Friday night, Delta Flight 3788 was descending to land at the nearby airport. Look closely. This video may have captured the moment the regional jet turned to avoid the B-52 just before the bomber flew over the fair's main stage.
Just out of the blue, just sort of very abrupt, like U-turn.
Monica Green was on that flight.
It just felt like going around a sharp turn on a roller coaster, kind of, but I could look out the window and see straight at the grass instead of seeing the horizon.
For those of you on the right-hand side, you probably saw the airplane kind of sort of coming at us.
She shot this video capturing the pilot's post-landing announcement.
I felt it was the safest thing to do to turn behind it. So sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all.
The Air Force says its bomber notified air traffic controllers nearly 10 minutes before the apparent close call that it was heading towards the flyover. 3 minutes later, the B-52 contacted the Minot Airport Control Tower. but the tower did not advise of the inbound commercial aircraft. The FAA is now working to determine how close the two planes actually were.
The investigators will be able to take the black boxes, the flight data recorders from each of the airplanes, and then they'll also have air traffic control radar data from the Air Force.
Green says she wants answers. Friday's flight stuck with her during her trip home to Dallas Monday.
I was sweating, I was shaking, I was not excited to get on, and it really hit me once we started taking off.
The Air Force says this flyover was long planned and approved by the FAA, and says the B-52 crew went over their flight plan with controllers before leaving a holding pattern and heading towards the state fair. The Minot Airport Control Tower is run by a private company contracted with the FAA, and we understand it does not have its own radar system. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Phoenix.
Fayetteville is swapping out old water meters for smart ones. It's part of the city's push to save money and streamline operations. Here are images of those older meters and the new ones. The new smart meters send data directly to the cloud, allowing residents to monitor their usage in real time, either online or through a phone app. The Fayetteville Utilities Director says they expect to roll out that app in the next few weeks. The city's also replacing all the meters in-house without contracting outside services, and they expect all of the meters to be replaced by 2030.